Well, welcome back to the channel. This video is going to be a little different than most of my normal videos. I'm not going to concentrate on CNC software. I'm not going to look at epoxies. I'm not going to look at lasers. I'm just going to look at an interesting project. I know that when I look at projects, sometimes I look at how did that person actually do this or do that. So that's what I'm going to cover in this project. I'm going to cover a unique situation and how I accomplished it. I hope you enjoy it. If you find it useful, please let me know in the comments section. But let's go ahead and get started. So I was commissioned to make a wedding centerpiece, and the person wanted it on a foundation of branches with three tiers involved. And so I had made this piece here, and this piece here is normally constructed with these three levels. So this is how it normally looks. And I needed to find a unique way to connect these centerpieces in such a secure way that the cake wouldn't accidentally fall off in the middle of the reception, because that just would not be acceptable. So the problem was that none of these sections was flat, and they only had little bits to connect to. So they were all rounded off. So this had a big round hump. This had a big round hump. This is grapewood. Nothing was flat. It was not secure. It would tip over in a minute. And so I had to put on some bases. This base isn't even glued down yet, so that's why it's a little tippy. This will be epoxied and doweled down in a minute. And I had to find a way by which I could connect these cake tiers to the grapewood, which is what this is, such that they wouldn't fall off when we had the cake on it. So that was the unique challenge. I thought long and hard about how I was going to do this. So I knew right away that I needed to put some pedestals down, because otherwise it would tip over. So that was the easy part. Once I had that decided, I had to go through and figure out how I could connect to these sparse parts on the grapewood. What I decided to do is go with a post and hole, or a dowel connection rod for each of the locations to give it strength. So I used various size dowels, 3/8 inch and 1/2 inch primarily, and I drilled holes into the grapewood. And then after I drilled the holes, I epoxied dowels into that grapewood. And then once I epoxied the dowels in there, in two places, this place and this place, I actually put a pedestal across. Because of the way it was shaped, I felt it would give it more strength. I did not need a pedestal on the top one because of the shape. So I did a lot of grinding, got those flat, and put the dowels in. Although I didn't capture each step along the way, I captured enough to be able to explain it to you and show you what I was doing. Drilling into these is pretty straightforward. I simply took a drill bit and drilled into the grapewood, and then I filled with epoxy. The part that's always a little challenging whenever you go through a project like this, or a process, is once you have the dowels in there, how do you ensure the holes you drill on the bottom of your piece, whether it's this piece, this piece, this piece, or this piece over here, actually align with the dowels? And so I'll go into a little bit of a detail on this last upper tier and show you how I did that alignment. And I thought that might be handy if you're anticipating a project where you have to use dowels and it's just for fun. And if you pick something up, that's great. Let me know in the comments if you learned something new. I just wanted to share with you because I thought it was an interesting project, and others might be interested in seeing how I actually connected these tiers to the grapewood. This part of the video will be a little different than my normal method for these videos, in that I was filming this without the expectation necessarily that I would be instructing. I was just capturing it for myself, and so there was a lot of music playing in the background, and I don't want a YouTube violation for copyright, and I found that if I have music playing in the background, I set myself up for that. So I'll just kind of go over what I'm doing here. what you see me doing is installing the dowels for the lowest tier there, and that white tape was something I was using to hold it against the grapewood just to secure it. And a little block piece you see down at the right near that clamp is the bridge that's going to go across to help solidify that lowest cookie or round. At this point, those dowels are mostly friction fit in there, except I was trying some old epoxy on the one dowel, and it's got stuck, and I didn't want to break it loose. I wanted to keep that there. So you see me having to come off to the side to pull it out because it's locked into that grapewood. And now I'm getting ready to get some new epoxy and fasten those dowels in very securely into that cookie, and that's what you're watching me do here. As you can see, I've obtained the new epoxy and I'm getting ready to use it, and I'm going to go ahead and glue that dowel that's already partially glued in the rest of the way. And so that's what you see me doing here, is gluing that dowel in, and then you'll see me glue in the additional dowel. Okay, at this point you see that I've glued the two lower tiers in, and I've actually glued one of the dowels in for the center section for the cake topper, and I'm getting ready to prepare the rest of that center section for the round to sit on, and you'll see me starting to use a grinder to grind away some of this edge. This section of the video I'll go ahead and speed up a little bit. What you see me doing is grinding the edges, and then what you'll see me doing is using the level and going across the areas where I'm going to try to put the cake. You will also see me use the tape measure then to mark the dowel to know where the 3/4 inch mark is, so that when I drill my cookie, I'm not going to actually go through it. So I only want to go up about 3/4 of an inch. So you'll see me take a couple measurements with the tape measure. Again, this is sped up because I don't think there's a lot of value in you watching it in real time. What you're going to see is, along with me using the tape measure, I use a 3/4 inch thick piece of wood with a hole in it that fits over the dowel to second check my mark, and that's what you're going to see here in a second. Well, the next part of the video will be how I drill the holes in the bottom of these cookies right here, these round pieces, to make sure they line up exactly with these dowel holes. You may notice the audio being slightly different because I wasn't using a mic when I was doing this video. I was just going off my camera speaker. It's good enough for you to understand what I'm doing. So just understand that's why there's a slight difference in the audio. So the next step is to build a actual template so that I can put this dowel pattern on the bottom of one of these cookies. So the way I did that was I drilled a hole the same size as a dowel in this cardboard piece, and I put it over the top, and then I moved this over here, and then I marked with a pencil on the bottom here of what the actual size of this dowel was, or close to it. I then took it off and drilled a hole into this piece of cardboard so I'd have a good location so that it would allow me to know exactly what that drill pattern is. Now that I know that drill pattern, I can simply take the piece that I want here and put it in the right location, put it exactly where I want it. And once I have it where I want it, stand back and take a look. I can then pull off the template, and I will have exactly where I want it located on the bottom of my cookie, and I can drill the holes that I want. Okay, now that I have this location right here, the next step is to go ahead and drill the holes. And so I've got two different drill bit sizes that I use for these dowels. This one's bigger than this one. And what I'm going to do is simply take this drill bit and I'm going to initially mark the center of the first hole. Then I'm going to go ahead and drill into that hole about 3/4 of an inch or so. So to drill 3/4 of an inch, I'll take the old trick of taking my tape measure and I will simply mark 3/4 of an inch. Best laid plans of mice and men. Notice how I marked this, and I'm getting ready to drill, and I realized that I had my straight tool to make sure I drill nice and straight sitting off to the side. All of a sudden I realized, hey, I'm not necessarily going to drill it as straight as I want to, so let me use it. And then I get ready to, and I realized that that 3/4 of a mark didn't take into account for that tool, so I went back to the old-fashioned way and eyeballed it. Thought I'd clarify, just in case you were wondering what was going on there. So now that I have that dowel hole there, I can put that right where I would be putting the hole through. I can put the template over it, and I'll be able to put it right where I want it. Change to the smaller drill bit. Now I've got both holes drilled. I'll take it up and put it up on top. And as you can see, we have the third tier. And all I have to do is move it around till it's nice and level. And there we have it. Well, that's the end of this project. I'm hoping you enjoyed this little project and going through the process with me. I normally do CNC stuff, laser stuff, and epoxy stuff, as you know. But every once in a while, it's fun to just do something a little bit different. And I was having fun with this project and thought others might be interested in a unique way, at least unique for me, on how to connect pieces in an unstable environment, I'll call it. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like what you learned, you might want to subscribe so you can see when my future projects come out. And if there's anything you'd like to see from me, why don't you drop a comment? I'd really like to hear from you, and have a great day.